off again?
I don't think so, because the sky's really blue.
I got skies of blue.
All right, well, we hear your singing entrance. Welcome to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Kidd, and I'm joined by the hardcore crew. First, we have the singing guy himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's going on?
Nothing much. Enjoying a beautiful day. It looked like we were going to have a huge storm, but it went right past us. But can't wait to tackle the world of professional wrestling here.
Absolutely. And last and certainly not least, we have the incomparable Lance Moss over at Lance Moss TV. What's going on, Lance?
Not much. I barely made it.
Yeah, you did. Well, thank God you got your power on.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to start it with this opening topic, and it's a long topic, so we're going to go take it in parts. Last week, Impact Wrestling Knockout Champion Jordynne Grace trashed Chris Benoit, where she stated, "I don't think Benoit could 100% hang with most of the present wrestlers today. He wouldn't be able to remember the matches. May he burn in hell."
Jeez.
Now, earlier this week, she pulled it back and she came forward with an apology. But before we go into that, Joe, I found what she stated, with the exception of he burning in hell and whatnot, the fact that he doesn't have the wrestling skills could keep up with today. I found that a very ignorant statement.
Oh, hell, absolutely. Let me tell you something. The kids wrestlers of today, I don't care. I don't care about the little monkey flips. I don't care about the stuff. Especially Jordynne Grace, who fucking couldn't even hold a candle to the fabulous Moolah. She should talk. What Chris Benoit did. Okay, what Chris Benoit did was inexcusable. Yes, definitely. We're not even debating that. But what his life as I look at him as the professional wrestler Chris Benoit, and there's no denying a thousand of the workers today could not compete with Chris Benoit on any level. Sure, they can do the fancy flips. Sure, they can do all these moves. But let's face it, to captivate an audience, to do stuff, they can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only did he do a lot of aerial stuff, unlike, Jordynne Grace probably jumped off a top rope, but I don't think she's ever jumped off a 15-foot steel cage. But you know what? I digress. He was also a great submission artist, and he also made John Cena tap out. Lance, your thoughts?
Saying Benoit couldn't hang today is like saying Kurt Angle couldn't hang today. Well, if his neck wasn't as in the condition it is, but that's bullshit.
Exactly. And you know what? I want to say another point that I think that Jordynne missed, again, with the aside of the unforgivable, horrific act that he did towards his wife and child and himself. The thing is, he's 50. He would age 57-year-olds today. If that never happened, he'd be retired. So again, I think her point, she did not think things at all. Which brought her again to early this week, where she sent out an apology. And this is what she said. "Since reflecting on this past week, I've reached out privately to friends and family that I agree that I angered or hurt. Excuse me. Among those are David Benoit, Chavo Guerrero, and Chris Jericho, who are supporting me in the decision to partner and fundraise the Concussion Legacy Foundation, was also known as the Sports Legacy Institute. I have pledged $5,000 with the overall campaign goal being $20,000. Well, Jordynne Grace, you know what? I hope that $5,000 makes you feel better, especially when you get the tax refunds."
You know what? And that's all. She realized she fucked up, and to grace it, no pun intended. And tried to smooth everything over. She did that. She went and just said, "Oh yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't think this through." That's exactly what today's generation does. They say something stupid and then realize, to please a bunch of Twitter followers, and whoever she thinks that actually listens to her and looks at her, that's when they say, "Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's, you know what? I'm going to give them some money. Here we go. This will make things right. I'm sorry." But, I'm sure David Benoit is probably saying, "Wow, thanks for saying that to my dad." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't." That's exactly the message that the kids today, people today, do. They say shit, and then it's like, "Oh, we regret saying that." It's just like Joe Biden. Joe Biden called the Hispanic community, Latinos, a bunch of tacos. They're like breakfast tacos.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I'm serious. That's what the lady said. And then they had the White House to backtrack. "Oh, I'm sorry that this lady's a fucking moron like her husband." Lance, before Lance takes over, please, Lance, do me one Justin Wilson, Louisiana cooking quote.
"I guarantee."
Thank you, Lance. That's a little inside joke. If you don't know who Justin Wilson is, a great cook, Cajun cook, you got to look him up.
All right. Lance, your thoughts on Jordan Grace's retraction or, apology, and not to mention adding $5,000 to kind of like ease over her conscience?
Well, I mean, she did say she was wrong and stuff, so I'll give her a little bit of credit for that. But maybe she should ask her friends, David Benoit and Chavo, if he could hang today with these guys.
And you know what? That's an actually very fair point, because Chris Jericho also worked with Benoit along with Chavo Guerrero. And guess what? They can hang today. Well, Chavo, not so much. He's he's good on the mic. In the ring, I'll give him kind of like a middle of the road.
Yeah.
Some would agree with me, some would disagree with me, but anyways, it's kind of funny because Nancy Benoit, also known as Woman's sister, she spoke up and she kind of took issue with that whole apology, and she goes, "It's weird. I never got a phone call. I guess my family's an afterthought. Again, I don't even know where to fucking start." Now, Sandra completely she sent out so many tweets. If I had to read them all, we'd be here until tomorrow night. I mean, there was paragraphs and paragraphs of her frustrations and anger as to how people are more putting Chris Benoit on a pedestal of the situation rather than looking at the victims being woman and their son Daniel.
You know what? I'm going to jump in here, Rick. Yes, she's 100% right. But we're looking at not for the Chris Benoit, the killer. We're referring to Chris Benoit, the wrestler. I'm going to throw something real quick. A dear friend of mine's, at least in my opinion, and I'm going to put that statement out for the folks who listen in. Chuck Williams, a.k.a. Rockin' Rebel, okay? He pulled a Chris Benoit, and I'm sorry to put it like that. He did. He murdered his wife and murdered their children because he was depressed. From what people say, "Oh yeah, he was an ass. He was this. He was that." Never around me was the man ever like that. He was a caring individual that helped guide my career with ECW legend Jason and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. These people have to learn to separate one thing from the other. Chris Benoit did. It was horrible, but what his in-ring work is what Jordan Grace was talking about. And I'm not defending Jordan Grace. I'm just defending this part right here. They were referring to the skills in the ring, not his killing skills.
Yeah, exactly. But even still, again, the fact that I think the only people that Jordan Grace called was just her peers. David Benoit is a wrestler. Yes, he's a son, so you can call him family, but the rest of them are dear friends. Chris Jericho's close friends. But did he call, did he talk to anybody else? She did. That's pretty much all it was. Yeah. That, as you said, Joe, it was a PR. Lance, over to you and your thoughts.
Okay. I seem to remember the only interview this young lady Benoit's sister-in-law ever did was with Chris Jericho. Now, issue I take with her taking issue with this, the question was, could Benoit go with guys today? In there she says she never really watched wrestling. She didn't know much about it. How in the fuck would she know?
Well, again, I think she's not, she expects all wrestling fans to jump on that mount. We want to remember Chris Benoit as a wrestler and not the person who murdered, her sister and nephew. And again, yes, she has a funny. Well, okay.
It's funny that she doesn't say she knows wrestling, but her sister was a famous woman wrestler. No pun intended on there for Nancy Benoit. She was very famous in professional wrestling. Since I was in professional wrestling, my kids knew what I do. My friends knew what I do. My wife knew hell, my wife was making bets with the audience and the fans and making great money because she knew what the outcomes were. So I call her on that bullshit that she didn't know wrestling or doesn't know about wrestling.
Yeah, again, well, a lot of her rants I read after like maybe 5 minutes, even my head started hurt, but just the way how much she was talking, how she wanted to keep her sister's legacy uplifting and high above, and I'm like, okay, why has she not once came forward and said anything else about her sister and all the wrestling stuff? She's kept her mouth shut for 15 years. She claimed that in her own Twitter that she said, so I think maybe this is her trying to get a little bit of promo, or maybe that's just her finally speaking out in rage. I have no idea where this woman's direction was going. Obviously, like I said, at the end game was to protect, to speak for her sister and nephew Daniel. So, unfortunately, again, it's going to be one of those topics where you're going to focus more on Chris Benoit rather than, as a wrestler, than the unforgivable acts that he did.
Yeah.
I want to move along, guys. Vince McMahon's sex scandal continues to fire up. Right now, earlier this year, we know that Vince was caught up with a sex scandal, and he gave his previous lover $3 million to keep the relationship quiet when it ended. However, more women have coming forward. They're saying they were also paid hush money, and the relationships ended with McMahon. The Wall Street Journal is now reporting that Vince McMahon paid a total of $12 million for 4 women over the last 16 years. There was one incident where McMahon allegedly coerced a former diva to perform oral sex for cash. And to top that off now, yet another... I'm sorry, excuse me, I jumped the gun. To top that off, Denise Scalito is reporting that due to Vince McMahon's sex scandal, Netflix is pulling his docuseries. Now, guys, we talked about this docuseries earlier in the year when they first announced it, and we were all really excited to do this. And unfortunately, now it's just not going to happen. Joe, your thoughts?
They could have gotten Ron Jeremy now to be Vince McMahon in that series. It would have worked.
And Pat Patterson put up the trios,
Oh God, no, not that Pat. Then the gay community will be in an uproar.
Well, that'd be a little problem. Pat's dead.
Yeah, that's all right. We can work around that. They'll hologram him or something. Anyway, with this pullback, I am greatly surprised, Rick. And I think this is one thing we haven't talked. One thing that I am surprised that the other major networks have not done something to deter Vince from showing up on their television. We got Fox and we got USA. It's really a surprise that they say, oh, well, here's a man involved in controversies and going to court and he could be sued, and what happens if he gets caught and this turns out to be true? I don't want him on my TV. But apparently, I guess that has nothing to do. They prefer the ratings and the scandals than anything else. So, and again, everybody, here's the thing. This is all allegations. This is not factual. I'm not saying that Vince is innocent because Lord knows, look at the shit he did in the Attitude Era and how far he went with certain skits. You know, look at Liz Morgan. She probably blew him to get the women's title. It's obviously to outsiders and insiders, it has happened. But remember, it's allegations without physical proof. Anybody could say anything. If you don't have proof, all it is allegations, and it could just go out the window. So, Rick, I just want to throw that in there. But, you know, I if this gets worse, you might see them pull Vince off of television.
Well, you know, that's a very interesting point because, again, they have brought up at this point another law firm is coming in to investigate this whole situation. You have this is not one or two. This is like 4 or 5 multiple legal lawsuits that are coming in and trying to find out if there's some kind of fraud, obviously some kind of crime, and a lot of others. So some say WWE could be can be in trouble, but I think it's more Vince McMahon. But as far as what you said as to Vince not coming on TV, he came on TV, and one report said that Vince just said, you know what, fuck him. So, Lance, that just shows you how well Vince really cares about this whole situation.
Well, I think he might be getting a little bit nervous about that these are coming forward now, because when the first lady came forward, he came out and did the whole "they need to see me" thing. Vin Man has kept his old ass behind the curtain now.
All right. Again, another fair point. I mean, Vince came back here, no, but unfortunately, when it comes to Vince, you never really know what's going on in his head, literally. So I want to move along, guys.
Moving right along.
I'm moving along, and I'm trying to move along to the next one. There we go. Sorry, little just issues. Tony Khan is being overprotective of Daniel Bryan, despite him being medically cleared by doctors. Back at Double or Nothing, Brian Danielson. I'm sorry, must have got Jim Ross syndrome going on. In short, wants to keep. He got an injury at Double or Nothing. And now, since he's got cleared the concussion, but Tony Khan is still saying, nope, I want you sitting on the sidelines. Now, there could be a couple of reasons. He might want to leave spots open for other wrestlers to get in because, again, you have all these ex-WWEs, including Bryan Danielson, coming in, leaving a lot of other guys no shots. Joe, what's your take on this?
You know, if he would take care of his own talent, the originals, he wouldn't need the former WWE guys. Obviously, he's starting to do the same thing that Vince did in WWE with protecting Daniel Bryan because of his neck. You know, a neck injury, it doesn't just, boom, come back quickly. Even no matter how severe it is, or how light it is, it's still a dangerous thing. And Daniel Bryan's been going full tilt since he joined AEW, excuse me. So his thing is, honestly, I look at the whole scenario. Tony Khan should look at his other workers who busted their ass day in, day night since the beginning of the company to elevate those guys and push down the WWE guys. Because at the end of the day, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, MJF, and all the other guys who have come in should get their due over these other guys. For him protecting Daniel Bryan, it's kind of ridiculous. You knew what you were getting, Tony, when you brought him in. You knew how very touchy and iffy his neck is and how he's prone to injuries. No one can blame. Put it like this: he can blame. He has to be blamed himself for bringing this guy in. I would have not brought Daniel Bryan in if it was for a couple appearances. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, go play with the Brie Bella. And that's it. So now he's going to be paying someone who's under contract, who's guaranteed money. Gee, it sounds like WCW all over again. Money while he sits on the sidelines, makes a little brief appearances. Hi, guys, I'm still here. Meanwhile, everybody else is wrestling. He's just collecting a paycheck. I think he should put Daniel Bryan down and change his contract. Every time you wrestle, you get a paycheck. Every time you go out to speak, you get half that paycheck. You sit in the audience, that's a quarter of a paycheck. That way, you set a precedent for everybody else. Okay, yes, he's here, but he's not making all this money. He's got to earn it. My thoughts on
Fair enough. Lance, your thoughts on Tony Khan being overprotective of Bryan Danielson?
Well, I mean, I understand why he is, because let's face it, at heart, he's still a fan first and foremost, and he knows how devastating Bryan Danielson's concussions have been. But if he's past the medical, let him fight.
Well, again, like I said, I mean, this could be a number of reasons. I think the main reason he's been cleared, he probably wants to keep him off, give other people's room, and maybe even just give Danielson a rest. Yeah. So, I mean, you can look at it 50 different ways. At the end of the day, you really don't know what's going on in Tony Khan's head. Actually, Joe, really quick, we were talking about the AEW originals. MJF, unfortunately, we still don't know what's going on with that situation.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Usually when CM Punk, he dropped his pipe bomb back years ago in the WWE, it was like 3 or 4 days, and then he finally came back out, and then that's when he started to get his huge push. So you have to wonder, Joe, if in fact that MJF's, promo was not a work.
If it wasn't a work, he would have been fired. Bottom line is, I think the scenario here is, I think it's here. By looking at it, and I actually took the time over the weekend to look over the whole scenario, see what was said, what was going on, was this and that. Honestly, I think the scenario here is that he was frustrated, that he brung it up. They said, that sounds like a good idea. Let's put it out there. And I think that's what happened. And then afterwards, they could not follow it up. They did not know what else to do. This was one of those things that they just said, we don't know what else to do with this. He probably had a vacation coming, because MJF was another of these originals who worked their asses off. He worked almost every show to make the company succeed. And I agree with what he said about all these former WWE people occupying space. He's right on that. We've seen it on every show. He's 100% correct on that. But this could be something that he is taking time off. He needs to, he pretty much has to have a break. He's been going at it for so long, and they haven't figured out where to go with this. It looked real, but anytime an individual goes out of their way, to say something, to drop a pipe bomb, if the owners don't want you to hear it, they pull the plug on that shit easily.
Well, they did. They actually cut his mic out when he says, Tony Khan, you're a fucking mark, and, fire me. And it was like, right after that, you could see that the mic went dark. And, there's two scenarios I could see coming forward with that case. First, let's say it's a legit, and that was, that was not a work. And they're going to say, so Tony Khan's going to say, you know what, fuck you. You're paying match per match, so you can set your contract out until 2024. You can't work anywhere else,
And he is in his liberty to do so, which is pretty much the same thing I think they're doing with Naomi and Sasha Banks, or do I believe they release Sasha now? Who knows? She's
No.
not important.
Actually, right now, no, they are both part of the WWE roster. They are considered as a part of the active roster. But Lance, back to MJF. Your thoughts?
Well, if it wasn't a work, that's unprofessional as hell. I understand the frustration, but freeze him.
Yep. And you know what? Now there's also the other situation. Let's say this is, a work. It's the same night that CM Punk said that he's taking off for a while because he had a broken foot, although he was walking around fine. So that means he wants a summer vacation. So much for the summer of Punk.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I'm wondering if that's when he comes back, MJF will reappear sometime in the near future. So that's another possibility. But what's the situation? I don't know. And I guess somewhat that makes me, more of a wrestling fan because there are things that's going on in AEW that you just don't know what the hell is going on. We're going to go over to the one last subject, again, which we have no idea what the fuck is going on. And that is the women's tag team division. Ever since Naomi and Sasha Banks dropped the titles on John Laurinaitis' desk, there have not been any word on what's the future holds for these titles. Nothing about maybe a tournament or vacating them or nothing. It's just like as if the same situation with Sasha Banks and Naomi, they're not talking about it. It's like the whole situation just went away. Joe, your thoughts?
I think it's a piss poor mistake that they're doing with those belts. They should have continued, at least put the tournament, give two girls a chance with it, and let their careers go up. Because honestly, the way I see it is, they're wasting time by holding these belts back. They should give these girls an opportunity. If they can't hold the main belt, let them hold the secondary belts. That's what I think they should, at least these tag titles. My thoughts behind it is they are blowing this away, an opportunity away to give other people a chance who could benefit from this, like Shirai and all the other girls that are in NXT. Make it like the tag team titles. Make it a world women's title. They defend it on all three brands. That way, whoever wins this tag titles can appear in all three brands, defend it against whomever they have left, and go from there. Honestly, I think this is a big, big, big disservice to those titles, and a disservice to the other women who are just waiting for either Sasha Banks to come back and take the women's title, or Charlotte to come back, take the belt back, or Becky or Bayley to come back. So give other people a chance.
And that's a fair point. But Lance, let me ask you this: with the women's tag team division, do you think there's even enough women in the division alone, whether Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, as Joe's proposed? Is there enough room for them?
Yeah, because we do have these, every now and then they put a little tag team together, like an actual teams. Like, it kind of looks like they're going to put Bliss and Morgan together. And I did have an idea of what they could do, because, if they're going to keep using these belts. You use tag team rule, or tag team battle royal rules. Everybody wants to be put in part of the women's tag team scene. Put them all in the ring. Last team standing. There's your new tag champs, and you go from there.
All right. One last topic. I do want to cover. Io Shirai. I apologize. I don't have the pretty picture, guys, in this one. There was Dave Meltzer, Lance Moss's favorite reporter, claimed that she had one foot out the door and was just pretty much about gone from the WWE. Io Shirai responded by saying that's nothing more than a rumor and had a puke emoji. So I think that's pretty fair to say. Which one do we want to believe, Lance?
Anybody but Meltzer.
Anybody but Meltzer. Well, Joe, over to you. I think Io Shirai pretty much has a, I believe her before I believe Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. You could not believe Dave Meltzer to save your life. I think he goes to the same bullshit school as Vince Russo. Yeah.
Right.
So honestly, only the talent know what's going on, and I know that there's marks who believe in Dave Meltzer. Fine, that's great. Not a big issue on my part, but fuck it. But yeah, you know what? I don't think unless somebody says something to her, then that's the only thing I see.
All right. Now, guys, another I wanted to talk about. I had another subject that was my just brain farted there. So.
By the way, hello Terry over at
Terry G
YouTube channel. Terry 3Gs. Welcome, Terry.
Welcome, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
There was a video we showed, I think it was like last week or earlier this week. It was a house show between SmackDown champion Liv Morgan versus Natalya. And Liv Morgan hit her with a finisher. It looked kind of ugly, but Natalya took the 3 count, but then quickly no-sold it, got up, looked as she was pissed, and left the ring. Now, Natalya claims that all she was saying, hey, you know what, good job, I love you, I'm happy for you. But, Joe, when somebody quickly no-sells and gets up from a finish, even if it's a house show, does that make sense to you?
No. Believe it or not, there is still some sort of kayfabe, at least when it comes to stuff like that. If they're not kicking out 50 times out of a 2 count, out of 50 finishers, but when the match is done and you hit that finisher, the 3 count hits, and all of a sudden you're getting back up and you're rolling out of the ring. I saw the clip. It didn't look like she says, thank you, good luck, have a good time, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that was that. I think she botched the move hard. And honestly, I think it was sufficient. You could easily see that Natalya was pissed. And she just walked out of the ring and said, whatever the case may be. Again, you don't do that in professional wrestling. It's not something that should be. It just makes the other individual look bad by doing that. So, did she fuck that up? If she did it on purpose, I don't know. But, honestly, I think it was just a botch. And instead of making it look like, oh yeah, I hate her guts or whatever, she just did that and just try to save herself. Because Natalya is a workhorse. She's done so much in the company to be pretty much beaten up on. So I think it was just Liv Morgan fucked it up because Lord knows she's a piss poor wrestler. She's eye candy, but she couldn't wrestle for shit. So that was just her way. Natalya's way of saying, okay, thank you, bye.
All right. Lance, your thoughts on that whole clip?
Well, either way, she should not have no-sold the finish. Like Joe said, once the end of the match, the loser stays down. Didn't Brett do this on live TV one time?
That's when, well, at least the only one that I'm aware of is where the Canadian screw job was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the only one that I know. But I'm watching the video now, and I see the clip where Natalya is sent ugly into the ropes and then gets hit hard with that finisher. It looks like a really bad botch. So I'm guessing Natalya, who's also a teacher, is probably pissed off about something, and she rolls out.
Yeah. Well.
Well, look at what happened. She got hit by a botched move. There's just so much you can take, honestly. If you get hurt in a botch, this is the thing too, and it's serious in professional wrestling. If you get hit by a botched move, All right, that could end your career. That could be your time that you sit in the sidelines. So that's your bread and butter. If you cannot wrestle, you don't make money. So honestly, I think, like I said, if you look at Liv Morgan, they gave her the belt because she either blew Vince or they said, well, we can't give it to anybody else now. Let's just give it to this girl. So I think they took the belt off one person who can barely wrestle to give it to another person who definitely can barely wrestle. So, wrestling has that rule. You don't kick out no matter what. But I've seen people do it too when they're really pissed off. And that's, and again, Lance just said, there's, you don't do that. But obviously, the scenario here is Liv did it. Natalya did it. She was obviously pissed off with what happened and tried to cover it up by saying, no, it didn't. I wasn't pissed off with her.
Yeah. Now, one other topic I do want to talk about is we all know that Ric Flair is prepping for his quote-unquote one last match at StarCast 5 against an unknown opponent.
The Grim Reaper.
Yeah, no shit. While many fans are concerned about Flair's health, the Nature Boy is very optimistic on his condition, despite his condition. And he said there's two things that could go wrong. My heart pacemaker could become unplugged. Gee, yeah, that's not a problem. And I could also, but I could plug it back in. Quick fix. As far as blood thinners, I only took one. I'll take one that day. Flair has also been dealing with an inner ear problem. Now, inner ear problems can cause you to lose balance or dizziness. And I don't know, Joe. I think any wrestler would not need those two would be problematic.
Oh, any issues with your ear, there goes your equilibrium. So you're going to be wobbling. You're not going to be 100%. By the way, in the chat here on YouTube, it is the LES Survivor. Hey, Skipper, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for being part of the show.
Welcome, Skipper.
Whenever an individual like Flair, who obviously needs money, this man is a legend in professional wrestling, and he's going out. He's not Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, who did the favors for him back in the day and gave him the title of Nature Boy. When you look at Flair, and I have the utmost respect for who he was, not who he is now, who he was, for him to go and just make jest of it, well, if my pacemaker unplugs, I'll plug it back in. Okay, Tony Stark. Go ahead and plug your little arc reactor back into you. If
he's been seeing one too many Avenger movies.
Yes, if he gets hurt or something, this is a scary thought. If this man thinks he's Ric Flair in his 20s, and he goes back and does that little flip over the top rope, his feet could give out. He could fall to the floor below and injure his hip, break a shoulder. If he goes to try to jump off he does to complete the flip, runs across, tries to climb and gets thrown off, his pacemaker could be jolted off. And you don't have much time to adjust that. You have to stop the match, let him get, they have to literally get back that part in before they can continue. If his equilibrium goes off, he could pass out. He can drop to the floor and pass out. There's so much scariness in this match for him to feel confident about it. And whoever is actually stupid enough to actually go with this, to allow the match to happen.
I believe it's David Crockett.
Yeah.
You know what, David Crockett, I loved you when you were announcing with Tony Schiavone back in Jim Crockett promotion days. Loved listening to him and all that. But this man is taking a huge gamble. I hope he's got millions of dollars in insurance coverage and liability. Because I hate to say this, Rick, I don't want to see Ric Flair die, but I don't want to see him wrestle either.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have just been at ringside for somebody else and go with that. I would have been happy with that. Yeah. Or even in a tag team match, that all he has to do is pull it. What Jay Leno and put an arm bar in Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Quick. All right. Let me just jump things over to Lance, and I want Lance your thoughts on this whole situation.
Well, this is a 6-man. They just have not announced.
It's a 6-man. I thought it was a 1-on-1.
No.
Oh, so they changed that. They obviously realized their mistake.
It was originally a 6 because let's face it, Flair, although he is Ric Flair, is still a 70-year-old man.
Exactly.
Now, my biggest thing, Nate, if the damn thing comes unplugged, that means major surgery. Open heart surgery, mind you.
Yeah,
and you got limited time when that happens in the ring. That's limited.
Well, again, but you got to look at people like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and even Terry Funk. They're a dying breed that doesn't know when to say when. They don't know how to stay away from the spotlight. Even when Charlotte Flair was coming to rise, he had to be right there in the middle of the ring, and until WWE realized he was drinking way too much on the job and said, okay, we need to send you off. But then you have guys who are smart and realize, hey, I can't do this anymore. You guys got Shawn Michaels. He knew it was time to retire. Triple H, he just recently had some kind of a heart condition, and he said, hey, I got to wrestle. I can't wrestle. I can't do this no more. I'm going to stick as a promoter / producer / creative or anything else but a wrestler. So, and it's really a shame because, again, I love the days of Ric Flair, but you're not going to see that type of match. And if it's a 6-way, StarCast is yet to update it. So, you know what, guys? We're going to wrap up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. Again, I want to thank Skipper and Terry for hanging out in our chat room. I want to give a quick shout out to our good friends, Mr. and Mrs. A, over at BC Games and More, where they cover a lot of old retro games. They do trivia, give out gifts, and again, much, much more. Again, that's our Facebook chat room, BC Games and More. Joe, you're over at Skulldon Realms. Tell everybody what.
Definitely, everybody, come over and check me out at Skulldon's Realm. Do the hashtag Skulldon's Realm. I am on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I kind of was taking a break from streaming. I'll be doing a stream tonight. So check me out. I do games from current to the past, from retro to current. I do PC to console, so definitely check me out. And we got to send off our beloved Vicious Vixen, Zoe Nightshade. She couldn't be here today because she's still trying to get the knots tighter on John Moxley's chair. Lance?
Buy this shirt.
No, not that.
Oh, well, okay. Never mind. The moment's passed. All right.
Yes, I know.
Lance, again, you are over on Lance Boss TV. What's going on?
Every Tuesday night we go live with Lance Boss TV and friends. We never know who's going to show up. And, well, the guitar builds are going to come back. It's been hotter than hell here. So it would be dangerous in the shop.
You know what, Lance? It's hotter than hell in the middle of the winter. I actually, all joking aside, I saw somebody who was freaking out because it was 1 inch high of snow. Meanwhile, this is back in 2015 when we were having a record 170 inches for the entire year.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what would happen if you guys got 6 foot of snow.
Yeah, but we're dealing with 100-degree temperature and 110-degree heat index.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Hope you have an AC nearby.
We do.
All right. Well, you know what? Just hang by there. So that's good. Again, we're going to wrap this up for the Hardcore crew. I'm your Hardcore host, Rick Head, over in the HWR chat room on Facebook, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Buy this shirt.
Now you got it right, Lance.